Hello and welcome to the Evening News for Friday, November 15, 2013. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, Webster defends her daughter's involvement in recycling project. Over 1,000 receive house lots at National Stadium. Canadian couple slams state care offer to their children. Gold heist mastermind remanded. Gao sugar workers to get 4% pay hike. And PSC petitions CFOTEF to hold on blacklisting Guyana. Now for the news in detail. Human Services Minister Jennifer Webster today rubbished the Kaicho News article captioned, "Minister's daughter to invest $15 million as a business partner in the $30 million recycling plant project." According to the minister, her daughter is not investing in the project, but rather she is a director. Svetlana Marshall reports.
I wish to state categorically that this article is inaccurate and I find it somewhat misleading. In the article itself, it identifies me as the minister and makes reference to my daughter that the company registered locally has as its director himself, his son, and another female who he refuses to name. The public records disclose that the other director and shareholder is in fact Adriana Webster, the daughter of the Human Services Minister Jennifer Webster, if I were to quote from the article. This article is intended to expose me personally, my office as Minister of Government, and the government of Guyana to publicly ridicule and to perpetuate the perception of conflict of interest and corruption on my part and that of the government of Guyana.
That was Human Services Minister Jennifer Webster. According to Webster, she was not involved in the decision-making process when Cabinet granted its no objection for the establishment of the US $30 million recycling plant. She further claimed that her daughter never informed her that Natural Globe Guyana Incorporated was pursuing the recycling plant.
I wish to state categorically that I have nothing to do with the company Natural Globe Inc., either personally or in my capacity as Minister of Government. I in no way attempted to influence any decision-making process, nor did I ever participate in any negotiation process whatsoever in any form or fashion.
According to the Human Services Minister, her 28-year-old daughter, Adriana Webster, who now lives in Canada, is a director of the company and not an investor, noting that she's an information technology consultant at Markford Enterprises.
She is not the investor. And for that sum of money, who will get that sum? It has to be equity financing from the company. If you guys don't know how these things work, which company will have that? Which individual has that kind of money?
Natural Globe Guyana Incorporated is a Guyanese-based entity owned by Guyanese-Canadian-based entrepreneur Mohammed Osman. Earlier this week, the company signed a memorandum of understanding for the establishment of a US $30 million recycling plant and has since came in for public scrutiny since the company reportedly has limited experience in this regard. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Svetlana Marshall.
More than 1,000 Guyanese were today afforded the opportunity to own their own homes after the Ministry of Housing and Water and its Central Housing and Planning Authority hosted its penultimate one-stop shop at Guyana National Stadium. Details in this report.
Hundreds of Guyanese received their house lots for Plantation Covent Garden as well as other areas along the East Bank corridor when another successful one-stop shop was staged by the Housing Ministry today. Addressing media operatives, Housing and Water Minister Irfan Ali said that the massive accomplishments undertaken by the ministry this year alone is nothing short of record-breaking, an achievement he attributed to the efforts of the staff of the ministry and the Central Housing and Planning Authority.
This is another one of the development on the East Bank, and it is going to see the allocation of 1,029 new lots, bringing benefit to more than 4,219 persons. In this project, we had a construction of 15.8 kilometers of crushed stone surface roads, installation of 18 kilometers water distribution network, and the construction of 64 drainage structures. The outstanding work would be the installation of electricity costs, which is estimated at $61.7 million, and we hope work would commence in 2014. As I said, this is just one of the many developments we had on the East Bank this year.
More than 4,000 Guyanese have benefited from house lots this year. He divulged too that the Housing Ministry is also on schedule as regards the completion of their financial statements.
I'm also very happy to report to the media that the housing sector has surpassed any other achievement we would have had in the years of planning. As of yesterday, we have completed our capital program in the budget. That is, we have completed expending all the resources budgeted for us in Budget 2013 for the housing sector. I think this is a tremendous accomplishment. I want to take, first of all, the time to thank all the staff of the Central Housing and Planning Authority and the Ministry of Housing for the tremendous work and effort they put in to ensure that we have a record in our hand now in terms of implementation and completing our housing capital program. We are also delighted with the fact that we are up to date in terms of completing our financial statements and laying those financial statements and annual report in the National Assembly as of the end of last year. So I think the housing sector has transformed itself tremendously, not only in delivering service to the people, but in terms of our governance structure, in terms of our management structure, and in terms of our institutional capacity and capability.
Total investment on the East Bank of Demerara for 2013 amongst the $6 billion Ghana dollars, and this has seen the development of several housing schemes, including Plantations, Providence Farm, Perseverance, Eccles, and now Covent Garden, while the total investments for ongoing projects stand for the East Bank at this time at $3.8 billion. For the Evening News, Michael Young reporting.
A Canadian couple has strongly criticized the government of Guyana's Child Care and Protection Agency for the quality of care that is being offered to their children, which they say were grabbed illegally from them, citing the poor living conditions and violence which their infants are exposed to in state care. Michael Young reports.
28-year-old Guyanese Canadian Paul De Freitas, speaking with the Evening News during an exclusive interview on Monday, has called on the agency to return his two children, aged 2 and 9, as he challenged the state's right to house the children under what he described as unfavorable conditions. He is contending, along with his Canadian-born wife Esther, that his sons received better care when they were in their care, as he alleged that his Canadian sons are now exposed to high levels of violence, bullyism from Guyanese children, poor nutrition, and insanitary conditions at one of the safe homes for abused children in the capital city. He explained that the children are not reprimanded for their action and also alleged that his sons are forced to drink bleached water daily. De Freitas maintained that the officers at the institution were beating the children with wood and sticks, according to reports from his son. He says that at least 4 reports were lodged with officials at the agency, but nothing appears to be done about the concerns raised by both the parents and their children. His wife has also confirmed that her concerns have been raised with the Canadian authorities. Esther said that she was concerned about the welfare of her children, as she insisted that they are not in a better place than they were before. For the Evening News, Michael Young reporting.
And as is often said, there are always two sides to every story. Today, the Child Protection Agency denied the allegations as they clear the air. In this report, Michael Young also brings you a third part of the story, as one of the abused children also breaks his silence.
The Child Care and Protection Agency has strongly denied allegations levied by a Canadian couple, which suggested that it is holding their children in insanitary conditions while exposing them to violence and abuse at a safe home. When questioned about the concerns raised by the parents, the House Services Supervisor, Roxanne Blenman, denied the charges from the onset, stating that she is a little surprised as the institution took special care of the Canadian boys and their needs.
It's very much untrue. I have my receipt to show that we buy water from banks their age. Also, we were given portable purification from the Ministry of Health, of which we use for the children. There's no insanitary condition when it comes to the water. Our reservoir is also treated every week by the proportion of bleach in the reservoir. So that comes to the building for bathing and cleaning of the sanitation area and so on. The clothing are washed by washers. We have maids that cleans the place every day, 2 times a day, 3 times a day, because we have about 100 and something children. And of course, they frequent the bath often, they mess the place up a lot and so on, and she works tirelessly to keep the place clean.
Blenman said that the boys were in a terrible state when they were taken into care, as one had a serious cold while the other was beaten badly.
These 2 children came to us. When they came, they were battered and bruised, all sorts of marks of violence, lash marks. He said dogs bit him up and so on. And I am the person who attended to him daily with medication that we got from Ministry of Health, because Ministry of Health visit us once a month to make sure that our children are properly cared for. They give us multivitamins, medicine for cold and coughs and so on, and so that we can take care of the children. And I'm the person who every day was working with him. He had a swollen left eye, of which we were rubbing it. We still do rub the oil on it to make sure that it can go away and all these things. And he said he had lash marks all across his body. Okay. And we were the ones that took care of him. When the little boy came to us, he had a terrible cold. We had medication from the doctor, and I would give him. The child is much better now.
Meanwhile, De Freitas' 9-year-old son, when questioned about the concerns which his parents raised with the Evening News, explained that he was happy at the institution while confirming that he liked it there.
I say so far from my stay, the home was nice. And I do like it here, right? But the only thing is just the children. The children can pick trouble with me because I'm new. It's the only thing.
The lad, who was in high spirits and sitting next to his younger brother, denied he or his brother were ever ill-treated by staff or beaten at the home.
How did you get the black and blue eye and that bump here in your face?
From my dad.
From your dad? What did you do?
I lit a fire inside the bathroom.
And then when he recognized you lit the fire, what did he do?
He beat me.
How?
He slapped me.
Slapped you or punched you? Which one?
Slapped.
How many times?
I'd probably say about 10 times.
10 times he slapped you? Around 10 times? And then he beat you with a belt after?
Yes.
Why, you were lying?
No. Oh, yes.
Yes, you were.
I lied to him.
You lied to him. That's why he beat you?
Oh, because I lit a fire in the bathroom and it could actually been a big fire and could have killed us, plus I lied.
The Canadian boy says that he gets good food to eat and surprisingly admitted to getting good water. He said too that he misses his parents but wanted to return to Canada despite all that had taken place. He said he still had minor marks of violence about his body when this newscast visited him.
This is the first time he ever beat me like this.
He did, however, deny screaming for his life during an ordeal which saw him receiving a beating that lasted allegedly for about 15 minutes. But the director of the Child Care and Protection Agency, Anne Green, has strongly dismissed the allegations by the parents, who she said are not fit at this time to care for the abused children.
Michael, this matter is in the courts, and the professional ethics, I do not want to talk much on camera about this case. But I am saying to you that we responded to repeated reports of children being abused by their parent. All right? And we, the child protection officers, along with the police, went to the home to investigate. And they met a series of abuse. There were wires and things locking. They were prevented from even getting to see the children. And in fact, the neighbors and everybody were concerned. So the police intervened. Eventually, we got the children, and they were in an awful state. We have the pictures to prove. The children were seen by the doctor, the parents were charged, and the matter is before the courts. We have also contacted the Canadian office here and informed them of the matter. We were also working with the Canadian International Social Services for the care plan for the children. The children will be moved into temporary care, and we are looking for the alternative care for the children, and if possible that they can get back to Canada.
She insisted that the parents were seeking to mislead the public, as she explained that her agency has a non-violence approach to dealing with matters of discipline at all of its related institutions. For the evening news, Michael Young reporting.
2 days after 3 persons were charged for the El Dorado gold heist, the mastermind in the whole ordeal, Neville Chandrawati, aged 29, of Lot 33 Sparta, Essequibo Coast, made his first court appearance in the Georgetown Magistrates Court today before the Chief Magistrate, Priya Sinarayan Bihari. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge, which read that on November 8 at Port Kaituma, he stole 96 ounces of raw gold and a quantity of cash valued $93 million, the property of El Dorado Trading. The accused was represented by attorneys Peter Hugh, Compton Richardson, and Hugh Crift. A bail application was also made by attorney Hugh. Police prosecutor Bharat Mangru held court for Special Prosecutor Glenn Hanuman and objected to bail, citing the seriousness, prevalence, and if granted bail, the accused may not return to court to stand trial. Chandrawati was remanded to prison and the matter is set to return to court on November 22. The Hope and Dutch Fork canals could be completed in time for the upcoming rainy season. Samuel Suknandan tells us more.
As the time moves closer for another rainy season, it was revealed that the Hope and Dutch Fork canals could become operable in time for that season, which could help to reduce massive flooding. Agriculture Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy told this newscast today that he will be meeting with the contractors tomorrow to reiterate government's position on meeting the deadline. Government, he said, will not compromise on the December 31 deadline, noting that at least 3 of the 4 components of the project are almost near completion.
On the 4th component, which is a very important component because the canal cannot work without it. The canal can't work with any of the components. The sluice at the seaside, the northern sluice, work has not been going on at a pace that would guarantee me or give me comfort that that component will be completed before December. So we do have some concerns.
Dr. Ramsamy said during September and October, significant progress was made to give hope of completing that component. November, however, has been slow and rain is not the reason.
So I would say right now that for each of the components of the first 3, we are between some 75 and 85% complete with the work. On the northern sluice, we are just about 50% complete.
Generally, the entire project is almost 75% complete. However, it was noted that the project does not have to meet 100% completion in order for the canal to become fully functional. The $3.2 billion project is expected to provide relief to the East Demerara Water Conservancy, EDWC, and to help reduce flooding experienced in the Mahaica, Maikoni, Abari areas annually during the rainy periods. For the Evening News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
This is the Evening News. Welcome back. A Partnership for National Unity, APNU, is accusing government of dividing the trade union movement. Samuel Suknandan tells us why.
APNU leader David Granger is accusing government for the division among labor unions and said that united labor movements are essential to effective government, social security, a fairer society and national development. Granger told a media conference on Friday that collaborative relations among the government, employers and trade unions can contribute to improving productivity, strengthening democracy, reducing poverty and enhancing livelihoods. The APNU, he said, believes that this move could lead to less effective workers and wildcat strikes that has happened in the past and has the possibility of continuing in the future.
A Partnership for National Unity, therefore, feels that trade unions are the guardians of fair employment practices. APNU calls on the People's Progressive Party to work towards respecting all trade unions and to desist from further dividing the labor movement.
The Ghana Public Service Union recently called on workers to stand up for their rights while hinting at strike action if public servants are not given a 25% increase in wages and salaries. The GPSU said that the current remuneration given to public servants is an insult to the hard work of those employees who labor in different entities across Guyana. Meanwhile, sugar workers in Berbice recently took to the streets in protest of a 1% wage hike which the Ghana Sugar Corporation Gaisuku had offered them, as against the 12% increase they were calling for. For the Evening News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
After failing to get the parliament to hear a petition calling on the opposition to help the administration pass the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill, the Private Sector Commission, the PSC, has now moved to the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, CFATF, asking for a stay in any decision to blacklist this country. In a release, the PSC said it has petitioned CFATF, asking it to hold on its decision to refer Guyana to the Financial Action Task Force International Cooperation Review Group until the end of March 2014. The Commission has asked CFATF to consider the severe economic consequences that would ensue if Guyana is declared a non-compliant state, the PSC said, noting that it is fully cognizant of its duty to represent the interests of its members, the wider business community of Guyana, the interests of the workers whose labor enables Guyana's businesses to function and grow, and the people of Guyana, and has therefore decided to take this action in what the Commission believes to be of national interest. The Private Sector Commission, in seeking a delayed decision of the task force, remains convinced that the governing and opposition parties in the National Assembly are genuinely committed to passing an anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism bill into legislation which will serve Guyana's best interests, and that the opportunity for finding consensus among the parties is not lost. The Ghana Agricultural and General Workers Union GAU and the Ghana Sugar Corporation Gaisuku today inked an agreement paving the way for a 4% wage salary hike retroactive January 1, 2013. Anara Khan reports.
The agreement followed 5 engagements at the bilateral level and 2 at the conciliatory level beginning on June 4, 2013, and also caters for improvements in allowances and additional yearly issuance of personal protective equipment to workers. In a press release, GAU said that the cooperation is hoping that favorable weather would permit the industry to operate all of its 7 grinding estates until week ending December 1, 2013, thus allowing the realization of the revised target of 201,000 tons of sugar for the year. The release also said that the union and the cooperation are to hold another set of discussions on the annual production incentive for 2013. The sugar production for the year so far is approximately 165,000 tons. For the Evening News, Anara Khan.
Guyana Water Incorporated GWI has advised customers served by the Luziknan Well Station No. 1 East Coast Demerara, including Central Luziknan, that they are experiencing reduced levels of service due to voltage fluctuations affecting GWI's facility. GWI is working with the Guyana Power and Light GPL to restore normal service and regrets any inconvenience caused, the water company said in a statement. For updates, affected customers can contact GWI's Customer Service Call Center on 227-8701-4. The Home Affairs Ministry said full support is given to boosting the level of recruitment and training in the Ghana Police Force, as it sharply criticized opposition leader David Granger for his comments on the Middle Street shooting incident. Michael Young reports.
The Home Affairs Ministry said full support is given to boosting the level of recruitment and training in the Ghana Police Force. The ministry gave the assurance in wake of comments from opposition leader David Granger on the shooting incident at Middle Street, Georgetown on Tuesday. The ministry said coupled with the recruitment and training is the ongoing process of reform and modernization of the Ghana Police Force, which focuses on administration, succession planning, professionalism, and public relations and communication. These developments, the ministry said, Granger chooses to ignore. The ministry said the ploy by the APNU to blame the Home Affairs Ministry for the incident is both nonsensical and shameless. Quote, the ministry rejects in its totality such a brazen attempt to disparage its image and its efforts to execute its lawful mandate. End of quote. The claims of rampant gun running, lax attitude to gun licensing by the Ministry of Home Affairs and weak law enforcement by the Ghana Police Force are but a clear demonstration of the level of Granger's ignorance of the work of the ministry and its achievements in the security sector, the ministry added. The ministry said too, in respect of firearms licensing, it has implemented the recommendation of the Disciplined Forces Commission, of which Granger himself was a member. A firearms licensing approval board was established in April of 2010 by way of regulations under the Firearms Act. This board is actively considering recommendations made by the police for persons to be licensed. No one is automatically granted a firearm license. All applicants are stringently vetted, and a visit to the ministry's website will provide readers with an indication of what this process entails, the ministry added. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
Thousands attended the Grace Jerk Festival held at Markham, South Florida, USA on Sunday, and some 1,000 of them visited the Laparcan shipping booth at the event. Laparcan expressed Assistant Manager Altus Toll, who described the festival as one of the best organized events of its type in South Florida, said, and I quote, "There were hundreds, even more than 1,000 visitors at our booth between 10 o'clock on Sunday morning and 9:30 p.m. End quote. She said that they had Jamaicans and other Caribbean people from around the United States visit their booth seeking information about their services. Stoll said that they had existing customers stopping by to collect their giveaways. The event drew some 10,000 people by some estimates and provided an opportunity for Jamaicans and other Caribbean artists, artisans, culinary experts and entrepreneurs to showcase their talents, products and services. In case you've just joined us, this is the Evening News. Stay tuned for sports, sponsored by Macquarie. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport. In the headlines, West Indies facing innings defeat after Sharma and Pujara tons. Raynaud Jeffrey maintains lead in Right for Life 7. And Alita Moore aiming to maximize New York scholarship. Now for the news in detail. We start with cricket news. Sachin Tendulkar was dismissed for 74 in what is likely to be his final test innings as India took complete control against the West Indies on Day 2 in Mumbai. Centuries from Cheteshwar Pujara 113 and Rohit Sharma 111 not out carried India to a first innings total of 495 before West Indies limped to 43 for 3 in their second innings at stumps, still 270 runs behind. In front of another full house on his home ground, Tendulkar resumed on 38 and soon advanced to his 68th test half-century before he was dismissed by the Guyanese Narsingh Narain. Shane Shillingford, 5 for 179, went on to complete a 5-wicket haul, his 5th in a row. Needing 313 to make India bat again, the West Indies lost Kieran Powell, night watchman Tino Best and Darren Bravo in the final hour of play. India leads the 2-match series after routing the West Indies inside 3 days at Eden Garden last week. Some athletics news now. National sprinter Alita Moore recently received a scholarship to the ASA College in New York, and the Guyanese hopes to improve her sprinting ability over the next 2 years. Tristan Joseph spoke with her and has the details in this report.
Explosiveness, leg turnovers and speed endurance are just some of the qualities that make Alita Moore a top sprinter in Guyana. Moore, along with 3 other of her Guyanese counterparts, recently received a 2-year scholarship to study while training at the college. The sprinter looks to make the best of her opportunity at the college.
I feel great because I'm like one of the few sprinters that was offered a scholarship in years, I should say. And when I get over there, I know it's something different, so I'm going to hope for the best in terms of track and school.
While the talented 19-year-old knows the challenges she will face while acclimatizing and is saddened that the Inter-Services Athletics Championships will be her last competition in Guyana, she knows she can adjust quickly when she lands in New York.
I don't have any expectations like going into competitions right away. Like training, then like a few months in competition.
Running since she was 6 years old with a genuine love for the sport, Moore had some thanks to give out for her rising career thus far.
I would like to say thanks to my coaches, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been here right now. Friends, family for supporting me, and God for life.
Moore, who is the only female to defeat local sprint queen Alicia Fortune after 7 years of dominance, will be departing this weekend to study nursing while trying to prepare for the 2016 Olympics in Brazil, as she gives Guyana her final performance at the Joint Services Sports for now.
Cycling news. Robin Passaught powered to victory in Stage 3 of the 7th edition of the Rightful I 5-stage cycle road race this morning on the West Demerara roadways. The stage, which was held in Region 3 from Wales to Parika, saw Passaught, who placed 11th overall after the first two stages on Thursday, clocking an impressive 58 minutes 42 seconds. He came home ahead of Stage 2 winner Team Coco's rider Darren Matthews of Barbados. Last year's overall winner, Colombian Jaime Ramirez, Alonso Graves, Jaron Williams and Scott Savory rounded off the top 6 positions. Some 38 cyclists face the starters order. Meanwhile, the Guyanese Reynolds Jeffrey, one of 4 Guyanese representing the 7-member Team Coco group, maintained the lead after getting the bunch time in Stage 3. Jeffrey sprinted to victory in the first stage at Chubi and finished 6th in Stage 2. The 4th stage will take place tomorrow morning in Essequibo before the final stage from Linden to Georgetown is held on Sunday. Now for some softball news. There is an abundance of softball talent in Guyana that is incomparable with the rest of the world. That is the contention of the former national softball player Mahendranath Parasnaut, who spoke with Stevie G recently during an exclusive interview. Let's hear more from Mahendra. Parasnaut, popularly called Bobby, was a devastating player during the 90s, whether he had bat or ball in hand. During his time, he would have rubbed shoulders with some local giants of softball, winning numerous trophies and accolades both at the team and individual level. Now plying his trade in Canada, where he has been residing for close to a decade, Parasnaut said he's impressed with the level of talent here in Guyana, noting that little has changed from the 90s as the players still play the game in a competitive spirit.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of talented guys around here. There's a lot of talented guys. And I say even my time, you see our time we used to play like before, right? And if you strike out like before, there's a lot of talented guys in this time that play same way like how we play. You understand? And I said, if looking back at teams to team, whether Regal, Trophy Style, Wolf Warriors, there's a lot of talented all-rounders that play this game here today, right? And I'm really privileged to come and witness Guyana Cup 3 to see some of the talent evolve from Guyana, right? And I can see that even years to come, there's a lot of youngsters. Then guys is only like 18 years, 20 years old, and they're really playing good competitive cricket. So I can say that there's a lot of youngsters that are all-rounders evolving in Guyana.
Parasnaut added that while softball cricket is rapidly gaining popularity in North America, what exists in Guyana is incomparable to the rest of the world since the game was birthed here.
Cricket in North America is not the same as Guyana. Like I always said, all my best cricket played in Guyana, right? We can talk as much as you want to talk in North America. I am a North American at this point in time, but I would say that Guyana is where cricket started and Guyana is where cricket would always evolve. Talent in Guyana is incomparable, right, to places like North America in the sense that here have more talents than places like North America, right? Cricket in North America is not a sport that we all look at. There's baseball, there's hockey, there's all these other sports we play in North America. Cricket is a West Indian sport.
Meanwhile, Parasnaut also endorsed the Guyana Cup softball tournament, which concluded last Sunday with Trophy Stall and New York Better Hope winning the Open and Masters segment. He said the tournament was well organized and was fiercely competitive.
Looking at the other teams, the competitiveness in the teams, coming back to Guyana, see some of these youngsters was really inspiration to me. Many years ago, when we played this game of cricket, we always look at youngsters coming up, and of course, the competitive nature and all the teams, I can tell you, I can feel it when I'm here.
While in Canada, Parasnaut plays for the Sunrise Cricket Club. In 13 matches this season, he made 163 runs at an average of 54.33 and also picked up 22 wickets at an economy rate of 3.96. And finally, the West Indies Cricket Board on Thursday announced the West Indies Under-19 team for the upcoming tour of Bangladesh, where they will play 7 50-over matches against the Bangladesh Under-19 team. The West Indies will be captained by the spin bowling all-rounder Ramal Lewis of Jamaica, with Jeremy Solizano, the left-handed opener from Trinidad and Tobago, as the vice-captain. The 15-member squad includes most of the players who played in last month's 7-match series against Bangladesh Under-19s in Guyana. There is, however, one newcomer, Jonathan Drakes, the right-handed batsman from Barbados. The full squad reads Ramal Lewis, Jeremy Solizano, Fabian Allen, Tejnarain Chandapal from Guyana, Brian Charles, Tristan Coleman, Jonathan Drakes, Shimron Hetimaya of Guyana, Jerome Jones, Ray Gordon, Brandon King, Preston Maxween, Marquino Minley, Gudakesh Moti of Guyana, and Nicholas Puran. And with that, we've come to the end of sport. Of course, you can find these stories and many more in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in Georgetown and environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. Stay tuned. Your Bridge Reports next. This is the evening news. Welcome back. Now for a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed on Saturday, November 16 at 14 hours for a period of 1.5 hours. And the Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Saturday, November 16 at 15 hours 20 for a period of 1.5 hours. And with that, we've come to the end of the evening news for Friday, November 15, 2013. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.